In this video, Simon Sinek explains about leadership can have a significant impact on employee safety. Simon Sinek also talks about organizational conduct must be consistent with long-term goals to ensure success.
When we talk about safe, we're talking about psychologically
That's
safe.
right.
Yeah. And you can be psychologically safe and still trip over a cord.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's a great story. I had a business trip to Las Vegas a bunch of years ago, and the client was very generous and put me up at the Four Seasons, which is a lovely hotel. And the reason it's lovely is not because of the fancy beds. Any hotel can buy a fancy bed. It's because of the people who work there. That when you roam the halls and somebody says hello, you get the distinct feeling that they wanted to say hello, not that they were told to say hello. We're highly attuned social animals. We can tell the difference. I mean, it's your idea of being the Nordstroms is like people can tell the difference whether they're forced to give good service or they want to give good service. Anyway, they happened to have a coffee bar at the Four Seasons in Las Vegas, and one afternoon I went and bought myself a cup of coffee. And the barista working that day was a kid named Noah. Noah was funny and engaging and charming, and I stood there for far too long just to buy a cup of coffee. And so, as is my nature, I asked Noah, "Do you like your job?" And without skipping a beat, Noah said, "I love my job." Now, in my line of work, that's significant, because like is rational, right? I like the people, I like the challenge, I get paid well, I like my job. Love is emotional, it's a higher order connection. Like, do you love your wife? I like her a lot, right? It's different.
Right.
It's not the same, right? So Noah said, "I love my job." So immediately my ears perk up. This kid has an emotional connection to his job. So I followed up and I said, "Can you tell me specifically what the Four Seasons is doing that you would say to me, you love your job?" And without skipping a beat, Noah said, throughout the day, managers will walk past me and ask me if there's anything that I need to do my job better, anything they can do for me. Not just my manager, any manager. And then he said, "I also work at Caesar's Palace. And there the managers walk around and just catch us when we're doing things wrong. There they're just trying to drive performance." He says, "There I just keep my head below the radar. I just want to get through the day and collect my paycheck." And then he said something magical. He said, "Only at the Four Seasons do I feel I can be myself." So think about that for a second. This is the exact same human being, right? In two different jobs, and yet our experience of him will be profoundly different, not because of him, but because of the leadership environment in which he works. In one experience it'll be amazing, in one it'll be terrible, right? And I think so often, I hear this all the time, leaders ask, how do I get the most out of my people? Well, people aren't a towel, you don't wring them out, right? How do I get the most out of them? It's a flawed question when it comes to leadership. The question is how do I create an environment in which my people can work at their natural best? And the Four Seasons has figured that out, right? It's by giving him agency, it's by giving him control to do the job that he wants to do the way he wants to do it, and checking in to make sure that leadership isn't there to do his job for him or to overly control, but to offer guidelines, but also offer support. And the same goes in any profession. You can take a cop in one agency who will be high-performing, a valuable member of the team, a valuable member of the community because of the culture. You can change the agency they work for, and they can be a terrible member of the team because of the leadership environment in which they work.
The narrator had a business trip to Las Vegas a few years ago and was put up at the Four Seasons Hotel, which is a lovely hotel due to the people who work there. The barista working that day was a kid named Noah, who was funny and engaging and charming. The narrator asked Noah if he liked his job, and Noah said he did, which is significant because it is a higher order connection, like "Do you love your wife?" Noah loves his job and is often asked if there is anything he needs to improve. He also works at Caesar's Palace, where managers walk around and catch him when he is doing things wrong. He says only at the Four Seasons do he feel he can be himself.
So in the mid-1980s, a philosopher and theologian by the name of Dr. James Carse articulated these two types of games, finite games and infinite games. A finite game is defined as known players, fixed rules, and an agreed-upon objective. Football, baseball. If there's a winner, necessarily there have to be losers, and there's always a beginning, middle, and an end, right? Then you have infinite games. Infinite games are defined as known and unknown players, which means you don't necessarily know who all the players are, and new players can join whenever they want. The rules are changeable, which means every player can play however they want, and the objective is to perpetuate the game, to stay in the game as long as possible. Turns out we're players in infinite games every day of our lives, right? There's no such thing as winning global politics. There's no such thing as winning marriage. You can't be number one in your marriage. You can be number two, but you can't be number one, right? There's no such thing as winning education. Nobody wins learning. You can come in first for the finite amount of time you're at school, where we agree upon the time frame and the metrics, grades, but nobody wins education and nobody wins business. Like when Circuit City went bankrupt, Best Buy didn't win anything, right? But if you listen to the language of so many leaders...
Half the room doesn't know what Circuit City is.
I know, it's sort of, I realize that. It used to be a company that competed with Best Buy. Same thing. Big box store went in, bought a VCR. You don't know what a VCR is.
Right.
What I love about these definitions is that when we listen to the language of so many leaders, it becomes abundantly clear that they don't know the game they're playing in. The number of leaders who talk about being number one, being the best, or beating their competition, based on what? Based upon what agreed upon metrics, timeframes, or objectives. And this is a problem because when we play with a finite mindset in an infinite game, when we play to win in a game that has no finish line, there's some consistent and predictable outcomes. The big ones are the decline of trust, the decline of cooperation, and the decline of innovation. So let's translate that to a policing organization, right? An infinite game is not the absence of finite games. It is the context within which finite games exist. Clearly, you are engaged in finite things every day of your career. You have a project that you need to complete. There's a beginning, middle, and end. If someone has committed a crime, you want to try and catch that person. There is a known objective. There's a beginning, middle, and end. There's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser, right? If somebody, you're chasing somebody down for a moving violation, for example, these things are finite. But policing and the organization of the Orange County Sheriff is an infinite organization. We hope that this organization outlasts everybody here and thrives beyond everybody here. So the decisions we make and the way we conduct ourselves have to be considerate of the fact that we want this organization to thrive for the long term.
This illustrates the difference between Noah's experience in 2 jobs and his experience in the 4 seasons. Leaders must create an environment in which their people can work at their natural best by giving them agency and giving them control to do the job they want to do, and checking in to make sure that leadership is there to offer guidelines but also offer support. Same as any profession, where a cop in one agency can be a valuable member of the team and a terrible member of the community due to the culture of the agency they work for. In this clip, Dr. James Carse argued that there are 2 types of games: finite games and infinite games. Finite games are defined as known players, fixed rules, and an agreed upon objective, football, baseball, while infinite games are known and unknown players who can join whenever they want, and the objective is to perpetuate the game. There is no such thing as winning global politics, marriage, or education, and when Circuit City went bankrupt, Big Buck Store bought a VCR. The most important idea is that when leaders play with a finite mindset in an infinite game, there are predictable outcomes such as the decline of trust, cooperation, and innovation. This is a problem for policing organizations, as they must be considerate of the fact that they want to thrive for the long term. If you liked the video, thanks for watching. For more videos like these, and please subscribe.